right? So what do we know about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu, we know, right, from Parshat Korach, Anav Mikol Adam, right? The Torah tells us about him, not like somebody's subjective opinion about Moshe Rabbeinu. It wasn't that, the Torah tells us he was an Anav Mikol Adam, right? He was like the most humble person, so they're attacking Moshe Rabbeinu in that area, right? That's what Korach tries to go for. Like, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're power hungry. The one midah that we know that Moshe Rabbeinu excelled in, that over and over, when it came time, when a few weeks ago, Parshas Baloscha, when Eldad and Medad were prophesying in the camp, and Yehoshua wanted to stop them, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Nah, halavai, everybody would be prophets. Halavai, everybody would be neviim." The Moshe Rabbeinu who begged Hashem not to send him and be the leader of Klal Yisrael at the beginning, and yet that's what Korach goes after. And Aaron, we know, Aaron a Kohen, Oev Shalom, V'rodev Shalom. What does that mean? Oev Shalom. So the Medrash says, such a beautiful Medrash. What was Aaron's midah? What would he do? He would go over to everybody in the street, to anybody. There was nobody who was too beneath Aaron, even Rashayim, even bad people, and he would be makbid, to be makdim shalom. He would always be the one to say hello first. And what was the idea? And the Medrash says this exactly, that the people would say, like, it's because the Lashon is that Ohev Shalom, V'rodev Shalom, U'makarvam LaTorah. That was that Ohev Brios U'makarvam LaTorah. How is this makarivim to the Torah? Because the Medrash says a person would say, "Oh my goodness, Aaron just came over and said hello to me, right? I got to behave myself. I have to be a good person. I'm obviously not like, a lowly person." And in this way, not by giving musar, not by giving tochacha, not by, in the most positive way possible, right? Mamash, the most positive way possible, Aaron used to befriend, be warm and friendly to people in order to help them grow, right? And this is Aaron a Kohen, Oev Shalom, V'rodev Shalom, this person, and this is the person who Korach is saying, this is nepotism, they're in this together, they're all, it's mamish, like, come up with something else, maybe come up with, that they're I don't know, money hungry, or there's some other thing going on, but to go ahead and to accuse Aaron of, trying to be holier than thou, right? Trying to be bigger than other people, and to accuse Moshe Rabbeinu of trying to be a tyrant or something, right? It makes no sense, right? It's like shtus. It's mamish shtus. It's like it's like somebody coming to try to convey, and yet, right? The Torah tells us that they got not just the rabble of Klal Yisrael, right? Dasan and Aviram were not holy. I mean, they're obviously holy. They're part of the Dordei. I don't know, but they were Rishayim. They got 250 Sanhedrin. Rashi Sanhedros. Real people, right? Intelligent people. So wait, my sound is off. You can hear me. You can hear me. Okay. So the question is why? How did this happen? How did it work? Why did it work? Why did they do this? Why, what I mean? And it's just like so absurd. Furthermore, we all probably are familiar. There's this medrash, very famous medrash about Moshe Rabbeinu. That Korach came to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he had a whole list of kashas for him, a whole list of questions, right? Like it brings this here in the Sefer, right? If a room is full of tcheles, right? Do you need if you have a beged that's full of tcheles, do you need tzitzis? If you've got a room full of svarim, do you need a mezuzah? And all these things. And Moshe Rabbeinu answered him, each halacha, and he was, mezalzel on each one. Well, that's ridiculous. What, you've got a whole room full of svarim? What do you need a mezuzah for? You've got a whole talus of tcheles. What do you need a zeh for? And it's like strange. It's like the types of questions. Like this is, these are the mitzvahs of Hashem. This is what Hashem said to do. You're coming with like your logic. Like children, this like child's logic say those types of things. Like a person really doesn't understand what Torah is about and doesn't understand, what mitzvahs are about. But like, how could it be that it's with all of this that, that this is how Korach won the people over, that this is how Korach accomplished what he accomplished, and and there's two back-to-back pieces in the Sefer Sichos Musar, at least in the new printing. I don't know about it in the old printing, but there's two back-to-back pieces that address Korach, and that's more or less everything I'm going to say comes from these two pieces in Sichos Musar from Chaim Shmulevitz. And one piece is on Machlokes, right? The Koach of Machlokes, the power of what getting into a Machlokes does to a person's mind. Meaning, as soon as I enter into a argument with somebody else, as soon as I'm in what we're gonna, calling a machlokes, we'll see a second the Mishnah, what's a real machlokes, what's not a real machlokes, right? But as soon as a person's in a machlokes, their mind stops working, right? A person in an argument, a person in a fight, a person in a state of machlokes is a person whose mind stops working. They are no longer not subject to, because they certainly are subject to it, but they are no longer moved by logic. They're no longer moved by, intelligent arguments. And, machlokes has the ability to completely twist a person's thought process. And another midah that does this, another aspect, which is the next piece in Chaim Shmulevitz, also about Korach, is the inyan of leitzanos. We're going to define it as cynicism. Leitzanos could be defined as joking about things, negative joking about things, making light of serious things, is leitzanos. The idea of once a person goes down the road of leitzanos, and we'll see what that means in a second, but once a person allows leitzanos to take hold in them, so leitzanos is also something that completely prevents a person from being able to see the emes. And leitzanos is something that can get a person to also see and believe and think things that are totally crooked and totally skewed and totally twisted. And to a person, it will seem so clear and so correct and so straight, right? Because that person is in the grips of leitzanos and doesn't even realize it. So I want to address these two things, and we're going to see that when we understand what they are, what these two ideas of machlokes and leitzanos are, we'll see this is exactly what's going on in the world today. This is exactly what's happening with all of the racist stuff and the Black Lives Matter stuff and all around the world, and all these things are going on, and people seem incapable of hearing another side, incapable of being open to discuss, possibilities other than their narrative, than their picture. And we're going to see that that is mamash the product of machlokes and leitzanos coming together in very, very powerful force. And to me, it's like I've been saying for the past few weeks, talking about this, there's something like so, I don't know, it's just something like I never saw before in America, how there's no more truth, right? The truth just mamash does not matter anymore. It's whatever, it doesn't matter if something didn't actually happen. It's that it could have happened. There was just this whole thing. I don't know if you guys follow this NASCAR racer. You guys read anything about this or hear anything? Anybody? Oh, there's a black NASCAR. You know what NASCAR is? Everybody that driving like the white. It's a very, very white trash sport. Like it's like the typical white trash sport. Like NASCAR racing, country music. That kind of thing. And not that I have anything against it. Whatever. It's just that's sort of like the stereotype. So there is a black driver named Bubba Wallace, who is a black NASCAR driver, and who looks strangely similar to Jussie Smollett, strangely similar. Anyway, he was, he claimed that there was somebody left a noose in his garage, where his car is, right? And it became, of course, a national news story and this and FBI investigation and all of these things. And in the end, it wasn't really a noose. It was really just a rope to pull down a garage or something like this. And, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it wasn't really something racist. Like, the fact that there's so much racism in America that this could have happened just the same is like, that's just as big a story as if it actually was. Do you understand what I mean? It's just like there's like a certain craziness that has taken hold, and a certain, like, inability to see two sides, and an inability to talk and to understand. And like I told, like, I've been hearing from students and, just people who feel extremely pressured by work or by their college or by their graduate school. They feel pressured to participate in all of this. Otherwise, they'll feel ostracized. And it's like a certain, like, mass hysteria. There's a certain, madness. And again, that's, Havdil, but it's like amazing to me, the parallels. It's exactly what happened in Korach, right? With, Korach got 250 people together, basically to commit suicide, right? In other words, they set up the Ketores challenge, right? That's what they would have called it today if this was happening nowadays, right? The Ketores challenge. Aaron, a Kohen, was going to show up with his Ketores, and Korach and his Chevra, 250 of them, were going to show up with their Ketores, and whichever one that Hashem took, so that was going to be the one that, so, but there was only going to be one. And they all knew that there was only going to be one. Do you realize this is something like really, so all 250 of them, 250, again, Talmidei Chachamim, people who were there, they were all so caught up in this. They were so invested in this whole movement that they had become a part of, that they were, each one of them was sure that they were going to be the only one to survive, right? That's like a new level of, self-delusion. Right, that they all go down there together, and they're all looking at each other, and they're all thinking like, "Whoa, you guys are really silly. It should have just been me and Aaron. I don't know what you all are doing here, but and it, and again, these were not crazy people. These were Roshei Sanhedros, and the Torah is teaching us this for a reason. There's a reason that all of this is spelled out this way, and it's to teach us this lesson, to teach us that this inyan of machlokes, this inyan of leitzanos, this idea of what a human is capable of getting themselves to think, what we're able to get ourselves all mixed up about, right, is a very it's a very real michshol. It's a very real aspect of humanity, and the whole parsha, basically, in the Torah, the whole story of Korach is here to tell us this, and to warn us from these two midos. So there's a famous Mishnah, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perek Hey. The Mishnah says that any machlokes that's l'shem shemayim, kol machlokes shehi l'shem shemayim, sofa lehiskayim. Right, a machlokes that's l'shem shemayim, like like the machlokes of Shammai and Hillel. It's going to say, so that's a machlokes sofa lehiskayim. It's going to stand. Ein l'shem shemayim, ein sofa lehiskayim. And if it's not a machlokes l'shem shemayim, then it's not going to stand. Right. So there's two types of machlokes. There's machlokes l'shem shemayim. There's machlokes she'ein l'shem shemayim. So what are these two things, right? And then the Mishnah goes on to tell us that the l'shem shemayim is l'shem, is like Shammai and Hillel that argued, in the Torah, and Shalol l'shem shemayim is like Korach v'Adaso, right? The Korach and Moshe Rabbeinu, that was not l'shem shemayim. So what is this idea of machlokes l'shem shemayim? So obviously the simplest way to understand, you're sincere in your convictions. You're not, doing this for ulterior motives. You're not arguing to make money. You're not arguing to make power. You're arguing for the sake of Hashem. You're arguing for the sake of, religion, or that's called l'shem shemayim. So that's one way of understanding it. Sol Salanter used to say that in a more Musar-oriented way, he would say like this, like, again, this is not really what the Mishnah means, because the Mishnah tells us that Shammai and Hillel, but he says anytime you have a machlokes where the people think that it's l'shem shemayim, right? When people think that they're doing something l'man Hashem, that's a machlokes shesofa le'eskayim. That's a machlokes that's going to go on forever. That's what he said, because when people are frum about their machlokas, and a person is spiritually invested in something, so then they're very, very wary to give that up, or very, very slow to give that up. And unfortunately, many times people use frumkeit, or use religious ideas to mask their own selfish motivations, right? Like Korach, right? Korach. Korach used all of these from svaras, all of these, religious attacks, because that's, he thought he was doing this l'shem shemayim. So that's what Rizal Salanta said. This is a very interesting idea. And you'll see this as you go through life. That many machloksim, that people get into, like arguments about things, and so people can get over it and move past it. But when somebody thinks that they're doing something l'shem shemayim and they're fighting l'shem shemayim, so then I'm not going to give it up. It's for Hashem. I'm going to keep at it forever, and that's unfortunate. However, there's another way of understanding this. It's actually in the Sefer Tomer Devorah. Moshe Cordovero says another explanation. He says as follows. This is a very beautiful idea, al pi Kabbalah, like he does. And he says that we know that there's the three central midos, the three main midos of Hashem, right? Chesed, Din, and Rachamim, right? Or Chesed, Gvura, and Rachamim, three main midos. Well, first, come to out the backyard. Can somebody mute your mic, please? Somebody.
Oh, sorry.
So Chesed and Din and Rachamim. We know that Chesed is the idea of of giving and giving and giving. Din is the idea of Gvura, and the withdrawal, and and Rachamim is the middle road, the middle way where it's the best way to get it. It's Chesed and Din and Rachamim. So Rosh Cordovero writes that one of the names of Rachamim, right, of Tiferes, of this middle midah, one of the names is Shemayim. For various reasons, there's each midah has all different names and different kinuyim, different nicknames, different ways of referring to it. So the midah of Tiferes is referred to as Shemayim. That's one of the nicknames, so to speak, of Tiferes. Like Aretz is Malchus, and different things mean different things. So Shemayim is a reference to Tiferes. Okay, so Rav Moshe Cordovero in Sefer Tomer Devorah, as he goes through all the midos. We only in school have only ever started Keser, right? We've never even made it all the way through Keser. But then you've got Chachma, Bina, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. So on the midah of Tiferes, the Moshe Cordovero brings this Mishnah, and he says an amazing thing. He says there's two types of machloksim, right? There's one type of machlokes that's l'shem shemayim. What does it mean, l'shem shemayim? The point of the machlokes is not to win. The point of my side of this machlokes is not to be right. The point is to come to the truth. The point is to come to the emes, and that emes likely is not going to be exactly where I am. The emes is likely going to be somewhere in between you and me, and that's like the midah of Shamayim, the midah of Tiferes, which is in the middle, right, between Chesed and Din, right? So a machlokes that's l'shem Shamayim, a machlokes that is happening where the two people are sincerely interested in the truth. They're sincerely interested in getting to a bridge point, to a middle point, to an answer. So that's machlokas, that sofa lehiskayim in a good way. Not that the machlokas is going to go on forever, right? But that the two sides of those machlokas are going to stand forever, because those are two people who are arguing l'shem shemayim. Those are arguing the right way. But a machlokas shelo l'shem shemayim, what does that mean? Doesn't mean not for the sake of heaven, the way the Moshe Cordovero says it. It means a machlokas where the people involved are not trying to find the truth. That's not why they're in this machlokas. And you're going to try to argue with them. You're going to try to talk to them. You're going to try to be logical with them. You're not going to get anywhere, because that's not what they're in it for. They're in it for the machlokas. That's what they're here for. They're here to fight. They're here to shoot you down. They're not here to be constructive and come to that would be l'shem shemayim. That would be a machlokas, that the point of this interaction is to come to the middle point, to come to the point that we're going to be able to understand each other. But a machlokas shelo l'shem shemayim, there's nothing to talk about. There's no one to talk to. There's nobody home, because that's not the point of this machlokas. You could only talk with somebody who's interested in talking, who's got an open mind, who wants to hear both sides, and will argue with you. No, that's not a good point. No, that's right. That's a machloka, right? But a person who's not interested in hearing the other side, that's not what he's here for. It's not what this conversation is about. That's machlokas shelo l'shem shemayim, and that's what Korach was about. Korach was not about trying to find the truth or trying to find the middle ground or trying to find some compromised position, where that's not what it was about. It was a completely shalom l'shem shemayim. He had an agenda. He had a completely set and clear agenda. There was nothing that was going to change him. None of his questions actually were looking for answers. None of his arguments were actually, susceptible to a logical sort of attack. Right? There was no two sides as far as Korach was concerned over here. There was his agenda, right? And that's machlokas shelo l'shem shemayim, and that's the type of machlokas that Dafka gets a person to say the most ridiculous things. Right? The person gets so caught up in their machlokas that they're going to go ahead and call Moshe Rabbeinu power hungry and call Aaron, holier than thou. And it's an amazing medrash here. It's like unbelievable. I want to just read you what these words are, because it's mamash, like, again, I probably spend more time on this than I should, following what's going on in America and watching all these video clips and all of these things. It's just, it's crazy what's going on. But I'm sure you guys have all seen these clips of these, like, maybe not, hopefully not, hopefully you're doing better things. Yeah, but like these people, usually white women, frankly, screaming at the cops about how racist they are and how this, and the guy's like, I'm married to a black woman. It's like, that has nothing to do with this. Your acquaintances don't matter. That's the oldest line in the book. Some of my best friends are like, what? What are you like? Why? What are you talking about? It's like, there's just like, in madness, insanity, people just saying the craziest things. And it's like, again, it's like this mass hysteria that so many people like got caught up in this and swept away. And I'm just telling you, like, looking as an outsider, just having watched this whole thing, it's just wild to see. It's wild to see. To me, what the real, like, breaking point was when the NFL apologized to the kneelers. You know what I'm talking about? That, like, for a couple of years, there's been this huge controversy about people kneeling during the national anthem as a Black Lives Matter protest. Anybody know what I'm talking about at all? No? Yeah, some of you,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick was that.
Colin Kaepernick, exactly. And Trump, like, was tweeted heavy support, for the NFL against the kneeling and all these things. And in the midst of this whole thing, the head of the NFL is probably Jewish, I don't know, Goodell, whatever the guy's name is. He issued this whole apology, and we haven't been in the right, whatever, whole thing. And I was just like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I can't believe what happened over here. I can't, like all of a sudden, just all of this stuff went totally haywire and totally a different direction. And like I said, like, the most outrageous things are being, like, whatever. It's mamash. Black is white and white is black. I don't mean that in terms of the skin colors, but as far as what people can say and what people can present as an argument. I'll give you another example just that was, also this week. It's like, so whatever, I don't know why it should be upsetting. This is just the way it is. And, but this happens against Israel all the time, right? Let's say the people who are against Israel, they're not actually looking l'shem shemayim. They're not actually trying to help anybody or figure out anything, right? So Rashida Tlaib, however, the woman in Congress, so she got behind the story this week of the boy, 27-year-old Palestinian, who was on his way to his sister's wedding, and his car, lost control of his car for a second on a steep incline, and that's all it took for him just to be shot and killed by the Israeli troops. And and I don't know if any of you have seen this either, but there's explicitly Palestine and Black Lives Matter connection, and connecting Palestinians and Black lives, and all of these types of things. So this was part of that. And this just not much happened this week, a couple of days ago, yesterday, maybe even yesterday, 2 days ago, whatever it was. And the thing is, it's an absolute sheker. It's the absolute total sheker. The guy rammed his car into a guard post, hitting a female soldier and sending her flying. It's mamish on video. And this woman says, again, and this is what Tlaib, retweeted out. The woman says, and realize these people who shot him are not even in danger. They're behind barriers. It's just, there's not even like an attempt at truth. There's just the narrative. That's all there is.
Is she the same congresswoman who said that whole thing about and whatever Palestine was a refuge for Jews during the Holocaust?
Yes, exactly. Yes. It gives me a warm feeling to think that after the Holocaust, yes, exactly the same person. Yes, yeah. No, it's
Ilhan Omar's best friend.
Yes, yeah, the squad. Yeah, they're they're mamish evil people. It's mamish evil stuff. It's like a blood libel. It's mamish, just wanton accusations of murder and incitement of people against Israelis, and it's exactly the same thing. And I'm saying, obviously, this is something I've been following, my whole life, as far as the Palestinians and the Israelis and the news coverage and all of these things are concerned. And I see it's exactly the same thing. There's no logic here. There's nobody to speak to. So wait, did I read you this yet? I don't think I read you this. So I just want to read you what he says about this, because it's mamash describes our times. Korach va'adaso him avi avos bali hamachlokas. Right? The Korach and his group, they're like the avi avos, meaning like the OG, what we would say nowadays, right? These are that. Avos bali hamachlokas shelo l'shem shemayim. This is like the machlokas shelo l'shem shemayim. Lo zil bilvad shehirziku machlokas. It's not just that a machlokas like that people are going to stay with it. Ela shelo hayu rotzim klal lishno as divrei Moshe. They were not interested in hearing a word from Moshe Rabbeinu, because if they would hear him, maybe they'd have to go back on what they thought. Maybe they'd have to go back and actually assess what they're thinking and then change their mind. Right? So a person gets so invested in their machlokas, so invested in their side, that they're completely unwilling and unable to listen to the other side. And there's a medrash here he quotes Chaim Shmulevitz, that and you just see to the extent of where it took him, like how far it took him. It wasn't just against Moshe Rabbeinu; it ended up against Hashem. The medrash says like this, right? So a few weeks ago in the Parsha, it said Moshe Rabbeinu take the Leviim and purify the Leviim so that they could do the work in the Beis Hamikdash. Right? This is talking about the Kohen and the Kohanim were going to do the Avodah. The Kota Sulahem, the Tahram. This is what you're going to do to them. The Haviru Tar al Kol Besaram. And you're going to shave them, right? And then you do the mitzvah of tenufa. Okay, so this is what happened. There was 22,000, I think, Levim that day that had this process done, that they were shaved. They have to shave their whole body, their eyebrows, everything. All their hair gets shaved off. And then they did the tenufa, which was Aaron HaKohen picks up the other Kohen and physically waves him around. Okay, it's a hanafa, and this was a huge nace. It was a miracle that the Gemara says that with Medrash that Aaron was able to do this to 22,000 people in one day was miraculous, right? Try to do 22,000, deadlifts or whatever, that's very hard. But right, but Aaron HaKohen was a nace that he was able to do this. Okay, so what happened? Miyad also came to Korach. So Korach was one of these Leviim. So he got shaved and he got waved and he went back. Okay. Hiskil Aksar al Yisrael. He went back into the Machaneh, right, to his friends, from other people. V'lo hayu mekirim also. They couldn't recognize him because he was bald and had no eyebrows and no beard or any, right? He was like, they couldn't recognize him. Amru lo, mi asa lachakach, Korach, who did this to you? What's this all about? Amar lahem, Moshe asabi. Moshe did this to me. Yeah. V'lo od elanatluni biyadi baragli v'hayu menifenosi v'armali harei atatar. Not only this, right? You think this is embarrassing, or you think this is an indignity? Not only did he shave me, but he flung me around and said, "Here I am, tahor." And then he took Aaron, his brother, and he put all of this gold and silver on him, like the big day kahuna, right? Like a wedding dress, like a kala, and then he put him in the Oel Moed, right? So Korach, again, this was a nace. It was a nace that happened, that Aaron HaKohen did this, and it was a mitzvah in the, it's still in the psukim that Hashem told Aaron and Moshe and the Leviim to do this, right? But Korach was like so, again, like so, I don't know, caught up in his machlokes or his, position, and embarrassed that people would see him this way. And not only then does he blame it on Moshe, but he now like makes fun of this nace, right? He makes fun of the, he knew that this was supposed to be. He knew this was the right thing. He knew this was not, on the contrary, this wasn't an indignity. This was the greatest dignity that could have happened. What should he have said when they said, "We don't recognize you. Who did this to you?" He said, he should have said, "Oh, you don't recognize me. That's because Hashem just told Moshe Rabbeinu to make me holy and pure." That's where his gaiva should have taken him, not the opposite direction, right? Not the opposite direction of saying like, "Oh, what did Moshe Rabbeinu do to me over here?" Well, they won't, and again, and it's that koach of Leitzanus that brings him even to make fun of Hashem, to mock now this nace. They flung me around. What do I mean they flung you around? They did an incredibly holy act that Hashem himself gave Aaron the koach to do to you in order to make sure that you were able to be sanctified the right way. But but a person who is invested in their leitzanos and invested in the machlokas is not going to see it that way. And they're not going to be able to see two sides. I'll just finish with the idea of Mesilas Yesharim, who speaks about leitzanos in Zihirus, the Perek on Zihirus. When he talks about, Zihirus is the midah of paying attention, being careful, making sure that I'm living my life in a proper way. And this is where he speaks about cheshbon and nefesh and all these types of things. But he says the biggest thing that takes away from Zihirus, one of the biggest things, is leitzanos, right? That when a person, is made fun of, or when a person, hears somebody mocking something in Torah, it's a huge detractor from my ability to take things seriously. And he says it's like a shield smeared with oil. Okay, this is what he says, that in the olden days, the warriors, when they went out to battle, they used to use some sort of a grease on their shields. So that way, when the arrows would come from the enemy, it would just slide off the sides of the shield. Okay, that's what he says. And he says that's what a leitzan is. That's what the koach of leitzanos is. Leitzanos is like that grease on the outside of a shield, that the arrows of Musar will never hit you. The arrows of logic, of introspection, are never going to reach you, because your leitzanos pushes everything off, right? Somebody says a very powerful idea, something, and then and you come up with a sarcastic, counter comment, and then the whole thing is gone, right? And so that's an arrow that could have affected me. That's something that could have come and affected me, right? But I let my cynicism, I let my sarcasm, I let my leitzanos just let it slide and let it not affect me, right? That's, again, that leads a person to be able to think anything, right? It leads a person to be able to laugh off anything. And again, this is exactly what you see going on today. Like, facts don't matter. The truth doesn't matter. Statistics don't matter. None of that matters, right? Because we're not dealing with a situation where, people are open to logic. We're not dealing with a situation where people are susceptible to those arrows of MS. We're dealing with a generation or a situation where there's, the two reigning midos are machlokes and leitzanos. And, it's just very, very, very important that we keep straight about this, that we keep our, perspective straight, and that we keep clarity, and that we don't, get sucked into all of these things. And of course there's MS to everything. Of course there's injustice. Of course there's bad cops that do bad things. And of course there's bad white people who do bad things. And of course there's everything. There's no question about it. However, the question as to what how systemic it is and how many people have to take part, I mean, I don't know. It's whatever, very, very disheartening and crazy what's going on. Have any of you read the book 1984? Did you have to read that in high school? Anybody? Nobody? Okay, I recommend reading that book. Read the book 1984. That's your homework. Okay, read 1984.
Yes, I've read it. It's a very good book.
Okay, yeah, very important book. Okay, anyway, Chevra, have a great Shabbos. Good to see you all. Welcome home to everybody who's home now. And I will we'll see you next week then. Okay, so Mirza Hashem, I'll be in touch with the Dayan and we'll send out something, but we're going to start Mirza Hashem, a weekly thing through the summer now over here. Okay. Have a great Shabbos, everybody.
Amazing.
Thank
Thank you so
you,
much.
Rabbi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.